Hello my fun pals and welcome back. If you're new here then thank you for joining me and giving me a try. My name is Di, I am here at Creative Karma Design. Today I am playing with the November prompt for Project Life. Now for this, Ali had done this self-portrait of herself. I have a self-portrait of myself and it was basically getting the words out of your head. Now when I saw her prompt I immediately thought of this. This is something that I've had in my stash. I'm ashamed to say how long I've had this in my stash. This is a page from a yoga journal. I haven't had yoga journal for 3 years, so this has been in my stash a long time. So Ali's example, she had her self-portrait, she cut off the top of her head and then had words coming out of her head. Now, to do that, I was like, I like the idea, I really do. However, I also want to see this behind. What I think I'm going to do is cut this out, like cut this out, put it onto an acetate so that I can have words on both sides and keep this coming through. That is kind of my plan right now. Now the words are not going to line up clearly because some of them are going to be long, so I'm going to have to think about that. The other thing I was like, well, this is going to be white on the back side. And then I looked into my stash and I found this, which I also love. This is from a fitness journal. So my plan is to put that on the back. I may have to cover this up with a word, put that on the back, acetate, and then that be the base. That's the plan. Okay, so as you can see here, I am just going to cut out my selfie from the photo paper. And I do end up like trimming the bottom of this a little bit in the end, just so that I've got space for the words. But I'm going to put it face side down onto the image of the person coming out of the box. And I just do that so that I can cut around it so that the shapes are very similar. And at least I remembered to do it before I adhered it to the transparency. Let's just be thankful for that. So I cut the magazine image out of I'm going to call it the fiery head. The fiery head. And cut some cardstock to the size of my album, which is half letter, figure out where I want the bottom to be, and then just cut that down. I don't cut it all the way, I just do one corner so that I can kind of adhere it and then trim it after. It just made more sense to do that so that I wasn't trying to fill in the gaps around the edges. So I've got that, trying to figure out where I want the bottom of my photo to be. And yeah, then I'm just going to play with the words and try and make the words fit. And this is where I realize I'm going to have to move my head down because I don't have enough room, don't have enough space for the words because they're kind of long. And Ali did a flip up, which to me now totally makes sense. And I did wonder about that, but I'm lightly adhering the images to the transparency just in the middle, just so that I know where they are without having to move them around, and so that I can kind of move the words around and slip them underneath my head. For lack of a better word, slip them underneath my head. I do trim some of them down, as you can see here. And I thought I would use a lot of them, but in the end, I didn't use that many. And you'll see that I do use them, but later on. But on this, I just figured less was more. So yeah, I just put in a few here, just kind of exploding out of my head in a little kind of starburst fashion. So I figure out what I have here, and then I'm going to go and look for some pattern paper. Because while on the front side where my head is, those words look great, on the back, they're just going to be like nonsense. So what I thought I would do was I would just adhere them to the pattern paper just so that on the reverse it at least looks a little fun and interesting. I just use a glue stick to do that, just adhering it to the pattern paper. I almost made the mistake of putting it on the pattern side but I do correct that mistake and put it on the back side. So yeah, so I'm just going to do that, and then I just trim them all out on my paper trimmer, and that was a job in of itself. That took like a long time. So yeah, so just using my paper trimmer to trim all of those little strips out, and then just arranging them back in underneath the head. And you can see me here just trimming some of the stuff off and just making, I mean, they're probably not in the same place that they were originally when I first put them in, but you know, that's okay. It's okay, it all works. But I'm glad I did put some kind of pattern paper on the back. I mean, ideally, it would have been great if I'd got words on the back as well, but I just was not in the mood to hunt down words that were the same kind of thing. So yeah, and I'm just going to use a glue stick initially to put these down on the transparency. I did think about using my tape runner, but I just thought, no, I'm just going to use the glue stick, and we'll just use the glue stick. I do, in the end, attach the ends, like the ends on the transparency, the ends of the words on the transparency with my tiny attacher, which is a little tiny stapler. So yeah, I do that in the end, but because I just think it needed a bit more secureness. But you can see the backside there with the red coming out. So yeah, just using my tiny attacher just to attach those little ends of the words, because I think they're kind of secured underneath my head. Just always feels weird saying that, but underneath my head they feel kind of secured. So I'm just looking here where my holes will be. I cut my holes with my We Are Memory Keepers punch. I do end up cutting through one of the staples as well. That's how heavy duty this tool is. So yeah, but I just leave it because like part of it's down. I'm going to use a little Avery tab here on the end, and I end up like putting, I think it's a word from the Good kit. I think the little words that I use for the Avery tab, I think they're from the Good kit from Ali Edwards. I just use a couple of the words from there and then slip them into the little Avery tab. And then on the back side of my October prompt, what I do is I use all of the words that I have left over, all of the little word strips that I have left over, and I'm trying to arrange them in a way that makes sense so that it's just, you know, using all the extra stuff that I've picked up, because I still want to use those. They still feel right for the project. So I'm just going to stick all of those down again. I'm just using a glue stick, and this is just on the back of the poem that I did last month. So I'm just going to stick all of these down. I do end up ripping one of them, but you can't really tell, so it's okay. And then I have little gaps left over, so I'm just going to fill in the gaps. And I think that was a good way to do this project, was kind of like do some of the, I'm going to call them the priority words out of my head, and then the rest of them on the other sheet. That just worked out right for me. So you can see on the screen here, there's the word that says happy. Now, I've had this in my stash and not wanted to throw it away. I've had this in my stash for so long and just never found quite the right project. And this was it. This was it. This was the right project. So I'm just going to put that on some dimensional adhesive, just some foam adhesive, just to pop it off the page a little. And you can still see here, I'm just trying to figure out if I need to fill in the spaces. Do I need anything else? And in the end, I think I just call it good. I'm just going to call it good, put the holes in, call it good. And then that is my facing page for that. And then all I'm doing each month is I'm adding this little like note card. This is like almost like a postcard. And this is from the Scrapbook by the Month kit from Ali Edwards. I just do some photos, just adhere those back to back. And again, I'm just trying to figure out, I actually have here put a little of the transparency between those two layers so that I can just attach it in the middle without punching through the photos. So yeah, I do decide whether I want to put on a little like tab on the November card. And what I end up doing is putting like a couple of little smiley faces on. So I get some, I think it's sticker paper. I think it might be sticker paper. It could be regular paper. And I just make, yeah, it's regular cardstock. And I just make two little circles, stick the smiley faces on the circles, and then stick them back to back, sandwiching the November card in the middle. All right, that is November done for me. I've got a full page here of the word strips. I've got my November card with photos of all the good stuff. I've got the prompt that I did on acetate, and then I've got this, which has been in my stash for years, and I'm finally glad to get it out. I love this. I love this. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you next time, my planner pals. Bye.